Company policy and safety regulations required 2 qualified pilots at all times. Maria's heart began racing. She had never faced this kind of emergency before. She knew they needed to make an announcement to the passengers, but she also knew it might cause panic. She asked David what she should do. "We need to ask if there are any qualified pilots among the passengers," David said. "It's our only option right now. The captain is completely unconscious, and I can't fly this plane to Orlando by myself for another 2 hours." Meanwhile, Jessica was still sleeping peacefully in aisle 8, completely unaware of the crisis developing in the cockpit. The other passengers continued with their normal activities. Some were reading, others were watching movies on their personal devices, and a few were also sleeping. Nobody knew that their lives might soon depend on finding someone with flying experience among the 187 people on board. Maria took a deep breath and picked up the intercom microphone. Her voice was calm and professional, but those who listened carefully could hear the underlying tension. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your head flight attendant speaking. We have a medical situation with one of our pilots, and we need to ask if there are any qualified commercial pilots or military pilots among our passengers who could assist the flight crew. If you have professional flying experience, please ring your call button immediately or come to the front of the cabin." Jessica's eyes opened instantly at the word pilots. Even in her sleepy state, her brain immediately processed what she had just heard. There was an emergency in the cockpit, and they were asking for pilot assistance. Her training and experience kicked in automatically, and she was fully awake within seconds.
Before we dive in, drop a comment telling us where you're watching from, and hit that subscribe button because I'm sure you don't want to miss another amazing story.
The announcement caused a stir throughout the cabin. Passengers began looking around nervously, whispering to each other about what might be wrong. The businessman in the front looked worried. The young mother held her baby closer. The elderly couple grabbed each other's hands. Everyone was wondering if there was really a qualified pilot among the passengers who could help. Jessica sat up straight and removed her eye mask. She looked around the cabin and could see the concerned faces of her fellow passengers. Her mind was racing through all the possible emergency scenarios that could require a passenger pilot to assist. She knew this was not a request that would be made lightly. Airlines had strict procedures, and asking for passenger assistance meant the situation was genuinely serious. For a moment, Jessica hesitated. She had been looking forward to this quiet, restful flight. She didn't want to get involved in work-related activities on her day off. But as she heard Maria repeat the announcement with more urgency in her voice, Jessica knew she had no choice. People's lives could be at risk, and she had the skills and experience that might be needed to help save them. Jessica pressed her call button. The small light above her seat came on, and Maria immediately noticed it. Jessica also stood up and began making her way toward the front of the cabin. As she walked up the aisle, other passengers watched her curiously. They were surprised that this quiet woman who had been sleeping was responding to the call for pilot assistance. "Are you a pilot?" Maria asked when Jessica reached the front of the cabin. Jessica replied calmly. "I'm a pilot. I have over 15 years of commercial flying experience, including this type of aircraft." "What's the situation?" Maria's face showed immediate relief. "Thank God. Our captain is unconscious, possibly from food poisoning, and our co-pilot is flying alone. He needs another qualified pilot in the cockpit right away." Jessica nodded and followed Maria toward the cockpit door. As they walked, she could hear the murmurs from passengers who were now realizing that the sleeping woman from aisle 8 was actually a professional pilot. The businessman looked amazed. The college student, Alex, took off his headphones to listen. Everyone was watching Jessica with new respect and hope. When Jessica entered the cockpit, she immediately assessed the situation. Captain Miller was indeed unconscious, slumped in his seat. First Officer David looked stressed, but was maintaining control of the aircraft. The instrument panel showed normal readings, which meant the plane itself was functioning properly. This was a crew emergency, not a mechanical problem. "I'm Jessica Lee," she told David. "What's your status?"